Welcome back to our build series here at Method Vans. I'm Shay, and today I want to talk to you about where we're at with our floor. So in a previous video, I went through the substrate and the mini cell, the riv nuts and attaching it and all of those kinds of things. So once that floor is at that stage, the substrate is there, we then use a thin set to float all of the stainless steel heads on all the bolts that are holding the floor down, and any other unlevel things within the floor. Sometimes, we do a 1-inch lap joint, but if there's any sort of deviation there, we'll float everything, get everything kind of sitting as nice and flat as possible, so that when we put in our cabinets, we're dealing with a really nice flat surface to work from. Once we've floated the floor with the thin set, we now are ready to put down our heating mat. So all of our vans, or pretty much all of our vans, have installed in the floor a 12-volt heating mat, and it's in the strip of flooring that's in our galley between our fixed bed wall and our front rear passenger seating. And so it's a 150 centimeter length mat, 150 centimeter long by 50 centimeter wide. So it actually takes up almost the whole galley of where you're spending most of your time in the van. So on a 4-season camper like this, let's say it's a fall or even a winter use, even though we try to create some R value, and not so much R value, but more just thermal break in the floor, it still can get a little chilly. And so flicking on that switch maybe 20 minutes before you're going to get up and be making your coffee and having your breakfast, you can flick on the 12-volt switch for that, and 20 minutes later be walking and having a nice toasty floor to have your feet on. And so to attach that, we use a 2-part epoxy, polyurethane epoxy. But prior to doing that, we have to router out all of our floor for the mechanics of the electrical part of the mat and the cord and things like that. And that all gets thin setted and leveled out perfect. So once the floor mat is down with the 2-part epoxy, and I'm gonna show you the product that we use for that, we're then ready to template our sheeting or our flooring. In this case, we use the Forbo Marmoleum seamless product. It's environmentally friendly. There's no VOCs. There's no hard chemicals used. It's a linseed oil backer. So it's a spectacular material. It flexes nice. It's multi-temperature, multi-environment kind of flooring. As I mentioned, it's seamless throughout the van, so we have no joints, we have no crevices in any way, shape, or form. It's just beautiful. We attach that also with a 2-part epoxy. And again, I'll show you the product. And that one is specifically designed for varying temperatures, humidity environments, fluctuations in temperatures, from plus 10 to minus 17. Like in Alberta, we get those swing days where we'll change 20, 30, 40 degrees quite rapidly. So your van has to allow for that and not get you into trouble. And so the patterns are really nice. The colors are really nice. They do linear patterns. They do more of a marbly pattern. This is a marbly pattern. It's kind of a blue-gray that kind of really complements the other finishes that are going into this van, and I think it's quite beautiful, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like. So here's the Forbo flooring, and you'll see that nice marbling effect. It's not going to show a whole lot when we're inside the van. I like a really smooth floor for cleaning purposes. I don't like the lawn seal or any of the raised flooring that just looks atrocious. Sure, it seems good at first, but functionality is not there. People get concerned sometimes, is this slippery? And usually we're not in here with wet ski boots. I mean, these are ultra premium, very high quality, very expensive vans, and I don't know that you're ripping in and out here with your ski boots. And even still, I haven't found it slippery in any way. And so you'll see that we just template around our wheel wells, we template around our walls. in areas like back here, we make sure the matting is cut really nice and tight to the finished to the finished part of the van. Areas that are going to be covered by cabinets or electrical or water, for example, here we concern less about. Coming around the front, this part of the wall in our builds is exposed. And so you'll see that we have quite a tight fit. Once our wall panel's on there, it's going to be perfect versus say like somewhere over here where we don't have to be as concerned because there's cabinets there. And then you'll see that that two-part epoxy that's there with the trowel marks, giving you an idea. So the products that we use are made specifically for doing the what we're trying to achieve. The product that we use to attach the heating mat is the Mapei Ultrabond G19 two-part urethane adhesive to put down the heating mat. To put down the flooring, we use the complementary flooring adhesive from Forbo, who makes the Marmoleum product. So this is the Forbo 660. It's a two-part urethane adhesive again, and it's like you can see there, it's low VOC, it's low odor, it's non-flammable. There's really next to no smell in this product when you attach it to the flooring. So it's really an excellent product. And then lastly, just kind of highlighting our floor tracking, which takes quite a bit of time and effort to get these done. We build up the floor completely with aluminum. You're trying to get your tolerances just perfect so that the tracking is sitting completely on solid surface material, and then but still meeting the finished flooring just perfect. And so we attach this with 5/16 hardware, going all the way through, and I'll take you underneath for a second to just show you, going all the way through all of that aluminum, solid built up aluminum with a structural adhesive. And then we have our two pieces. So if we have seats in here, then the seats will go into these two tracks. And we use the unwind quick release lockers to put the seats in and out very quickly. Our floor plan is a hybrid floor plan, and so typically we have a two-person sitting bench right here that we use the track to attach the bench to. So the only exposed track in that situation is this outer track, and then there's a nice finished cover that goes on top of here so we don't get debris and dirt and things like that in the track, and so it looks really nice. And I can show you quickly that in our show van. And then if we want, we can quickly unbolt the seat or the bench, take the bench out and put the two-passenger seat in. And here is where it's sitting in terms of right behind our driver seat, and with a really nice view out this large awning window, which we've talked about before. But you'll see now we have installed the ring, and the window is now installed. So the window installation ring is now clamped to our installation wood. And now we're ready to put on our window jamb once we have our wall panels completely there. So I'll show you two things. I'll show you underneath the van what the aluminum looks like on the underside, and then I'll quickly just show you what the finished tracking looks like on our show van. So if we just come around here, here's what the backing looks like on that Forbo. So it's kind of a matting material, which gives us really good adhesion to that glue. But anyways, I want to show you what we look like underneath the van. So I'll just grab the trolley here. And so here you'll see what we're looking at. So first of all, I mean, there's our rivet nuts, our plus nuts that we're using to attach all of our wood flooring to. You can see the stainless steel hardware coming through there. Here is our tracking. So there's 5 bolts coming through the tracking through the floor. And the tracking we use is not just a standard L-Track. This is mobility approved tracking, so it's meant for this application. It's a lot thicker than a standard tracking, and so we come through with our 5/16 inch hardware. We have this massive aluminum, 1/4 inch aluminum plate that is acting basically as a ginormous washer and tying all of the pieces together, giving us additional strength. We use a standard 5/16 washer, grade 8. We use a standard lock washer. we use a regular nut, and then we add in a second lock nut just to make sure that we don't get any of these loosening over time. This small 8/32 bolt coming through here just attaches those end caps on the tracking. And you'll see the aluminum is cut here kind of on an angle, and that's because of the weird recess that we have, and then this upper flange here that we have to kind of just work around. It's still fully coming through, the bolt's still fully coming through the aluminum, and it's all attached together, and so there's really little to no concern. In a spot, the back half of the tracking, you know, we have another plate with our 2 bolts, and then our little cover bolt coming through here. And again, you know, full 1/4 inch aluminum with our bolts and all of our hardware attaching. So we've got, you know, 1/4 inch aluminum here. This is on the driver's side, so 1/4 inch aluminum here. On the top side, we have another full 1/4 inch aluminum plate, exactly like this, but it's not being cut. It's obviously full length. And then we have our mobility tracking, and I'll show you a quick piece of how thick that looks. That is what we're actually attaching. So for any of this to ever come out of the van, I mean, really the whole floor of the van would need to rip out, and clearly that's hopefully never happening. So that gives you a quick view of what it looks like from the underside. And now I'll just take it quickly and just show you that that L-Track. I think I have a small piece in this box. Yeah, so this is the mobility tracking. And so you'll see the thickness of that tracking. I mean, this is really robust. This is made by Unwin. The lockers are made by Unwin. This is made by a company called Q-Straint. So Q-Straint is the company that makes the L-Track, and it's a really robust L-Track, approved for mobility use. And then lastly, I said I would just show you what we look like in the finished part of it. So here's our show van. So here's that sitting bench I'm talking to you about. And that sitting bench is what's attached now to that L-Track. You don't see that L-Track because it's underneath the sitting bench. And then we do have one exposed track here. And then you'll see that that fancy cover I was talking about, and it ends up being kind of very clean and not obtrusive at all. And you can remove the bench out, put the two passenger seating in, and then suddenly you take your van from seating from 2 to seating to 4 in probably 10 to 15 minutes. So that gives you a quick view of what that looks like. So thanks for joining me on a quick tour of our flooring, and then just finishing off, like I said, with that mobility tracking, giving you a view of what it looks like from the underside, what the finished look looks like from the upside or from the top side. And thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for our more Build Series videos. Cheers.